essentially a work of art. It is about art. The building's about performing arts. And so we started thinking about how do we craft the building to represent that. And I don't know if you picked up on it, but even the movement of the shell of the building itself, we actually used the angles and things that you see in the shell of the building. It actually was a derivative of like the movement of a conductor's baton. We were like, you move your baton up, move it up again. So the shapes were actually evocative really of that movement. In fact, the original design, Shawn might remember this as well, they were actually swooped curves, each of those shapes that are now angles. So the budget drove it to a straight line, which happens all the time. But we kind of expected that might happen. But we started with curves with the initial renderings and then moved it to angles. And then the angles started to also be evocative a bit of the backdrop of the Rocky Mountains behind them. So these tilts and turns of the shell were intentional. There are very subtle things that represented music, and not necessarily in quite a literal way, but like if you look at the window framing and the entry, there's this window wall. It is very horizontal mullions, and then every X number of feet was a very definitive vertical one. And if you look at it and just think about that area, it was actually designed to look like essentially the frets of a guitar or any stringed instrument like that. And there's window patterns in there that are groups of 2 and groups of 3 that are meant to represent the black keys on a piano and how they're patterned. So we tried to use these very subtle things in ways to move the effects of music around the shell of the building. Not necessarily overtly, but more subtly. So those are the fun things you can do when you've got that mass of a building.